In a world where dreams meet reality, there exists a place where your business can flourish. That place is Shopify. Imagine having the power to craft your online store with tools that make it as easy as a gentle breeze. Whether you're an artisan of handmade wonders, a creator of digital treasures, or a curator of the latest trends, Shopify stands by your side. With its customizable templates, seamless integrations, and support that's always there, your dream store is just a heartbeat away. Join millions of visionaries around the globe and let Shopify guide you on your journey. Visit roguemedianetwork.com/Shopify. That's roguemedianetwork.com/SHOPIFY. And embark on your free trial. Shopify, where your commerce dreams come to life.
Most bankers aren't ready to help you until after their third cup of coffee. But with Central National Bank's after-hours service, you don't have to wait for the bank lobby to open to get help. You can contact us from 6 to 8:30 in the morning or from 5 to 10 in the evening, and we'll connect you to a real, live, local person who can answer questions and fix problems 7 days a week. Bank different. Bank Central. Central National Bank. Member FDIC.
I thought I saw something.
I lose you guys again. What?
Someone.
What's going on? What are you guys looking at? Abaddon eyes. That's what we call it. Everybody feels like they saw something out of the corner of our eyes or just felt like they were being watched. It happens to all of us. Just our imagination's messing with us.
Abaddon eyes.
You coming?
There you go.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going? Here, wait, I can put my...
There it is.
There he is.
Look, he's dead. No, wait, he's not.
That's right.
So, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm very good. How are you?
We're even better now.
Doing well.
So let me introduce. My name is Mike. This is Casey. And around the corner here that you can't see, kind of like your dead sister, is Caitlin. And so let me give you just a quick rundown of what we're kind of doing here. Not really a normal interview, and so I'll explain that real quick. We have a show that we're starting called Abaddon Eyes, exploring the Hell House universe. The idea here is to explore the lore and the world that's being built within these movies. So instead of just doing regular reviews and talking to actors that were in it and things like that, we want to do something where we can discuss the lore, maybe what's missing, what we think's coming, that kind of thing. Not add to it, but just discuss what's been developed. Okay.
Cool.
We talked to Steven, last week?
Yes.
And he was super nice to us, told us, kind of gave us the thumbs up on this project, which is, that's what I needed. And then yesterday we talked to Bridget. And oh my gosh, it's super nice. And now you. So I mean, it's been a great couple of weeks. Yeah.
Great.
So if you're ready, we'll just jump into it.
Yeah, let's jump into it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Gideon, correct? Am I saying it? It's not said in a different way, and I'm mispronouncing.
What are your names, by the way?
I'm Mike. Casey.
Great.
Caitlin.
Great.
Yeah. So Gideon, the reason I ask about saying your name is I was a teacher for a long time, and I always ask kids how to say their names before I said them, so because inevitably you're going to be wrong. Okay. So Gideon, number one, thanks for being here. We
Definitely,
really appreciate it.
No problem.
So give us an idea of what you've done in the past, Gideon, and how Hell House 4 kind of fits into that pantheon of things that you've done.
Sure. So I'm an actor and a director. I'm currently in the middle of a long process of directing a horror film.
Okay.
Called The Tannery.
Oh.
Which is like a period piece horror film that takes place in the 1920s in a leather tannery in New Jersey.
It'd be weird if it
So-
wasn't in
and
a
we're
tannery, right? It'd be weird if
Yeah,
it
right.
wasn't. Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly. We figured the name was just evocative enough. to
Sure,
say, yeah,
sure.
the tannery, you know.
It takes place in a shoe store. It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, and that's in post production right now, and it's so I have a lot of experience with horror.
Yeah.
It's funny because I grew up not being that big a horror fan, but it sort of found me,
Right.
especially artistically.
Yeah.
Then the other thing that, you know, might fit in a weird way with the Hell House film is I grew up in a family of mimes,
Yeah.
where my parents are mimes, and I learned to do mime from a very early age.
Such a quiet house. Yeah.
You'd be surprised how loud it can get. But,
Sure.
but and I mean, obviously very different from the, you know, the kinds of clowns that are in Hell House, but there was definitely this sense of knowing what, you know, what that kind of performance can do for you and do to you and to your
Right.
body,
Right.
and how that fits into your psyche for this.
Yeah. We were kind of discussing that before you came on about how maybe you kind of felt comfortable, you know, with the whole clown aspect at the end of it, just because of the history of mime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go into the world of Patrick. Let's talk about when you got the script and how you read it and what you kind of thought about this character.
Yeah. Well, you know, and this goes for any script I approach. I don't judge the character.
Sure.
If I'm going to play the character. So, you know, with Patrick, I understood that he was just immersed so deeply in grief that he essentially had to be someone else.
Yeah.
It was funny. My girlfriend is an actress, and she and I were talking about it because I was like, you know, I understand this up to a point where I understand that, you know, Patrick's grief is causes such violence, but then why the clown? And we were talking about it, and she actually said, well, it makes sense because you can't be you anymore after this. And so you find this other person you can be, who is not so consumed with this grief.
I would imagine that that's where kind of the mime training came in, or being a sort of clown came in, because and this is just speculation, wild speculation on my part, but I would think that being that character, whatever character you are when you are miming or you are clowning, is a super escape for you, just as an actor, as a person. Is that am I anywhere near accurate?
You are. It's funny though, because at least the kind of mime I was trained in and that I do, it's you know, it has a lot of roots in the American method and in Stanislavski, and you know, it considers itself a form of acting,
right?
That where in a way, instead of a script with text, you have the body,
right.
So, you know, in a way, it is an escape, but at the same time, it gets you to something often even more real or more raw, right? When conventional use of language is stripped away, what do you have? You know, it's much less ornamental than sort of the stereotype of, you know, the mime with the striped shirt and the part.
Yeah, trying to get out of a box that isn't there or whatever. Yeah.
So it can be deeply, deeply emotionally pure.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, I would imagine that there's something about working that muscle, you know, without language, that really comes in handy when you do have language. You don't rely on just the words at that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, and to go back to, what you were saying about becoming somebody else, if you think of the ending and when Patrick was looking at the camera and was just filled with tears and emotion about, it was something he really didn't want to do. And as soon as he put on the mask, it was just stoic. There was no more tears. There were no, it was just, he left that old self and became, like you said, this new being. And regardless of what it was, I think he was happy not to feel that grief and pain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So,
I think that's one of the great things about horror as a genre is so much of it is reflected in the horrors of just our world. I mean, you see that all the time in the news and, hopefully not in life, but people see it all the time in life of, people doing that and doing horrible things as a result of that transition. In their minds,
Right. So, your sisters within this universe, Margaret and Catherine. Margaret, no spoilers, but Margaret perishes in a car crash. This starts this cycle of grief for you, or for Patrick. And then Catherine kind of starts poking around to figure out what's going on, ends up with the song from the chest and plays the song, and God knows why she sings the lyrics, but
the lyrics were so sad.
I
was like, oh my God.
Yeah. I'm getting about 3 words into this thing and I'm abandoning it. But she sings the whole thing. And then what caught me was where she says, Patrick, where are you working? So give us kind of a little reflection on that. Why do you think Patrick was working where he was working? And I mean, we kind of assume he's working with Tully and the cult. But I don't know that any of that is cemented, where it's still a little bit up in the air. So give me your idea of, as Patrick, where you think you're working and why and who you're working for.
So, I think I'm working for Tully.
Okay.
I talked to Stephen about this, and he in his idea, which I completely agreed with, was that Patrick is bartending at the hotel.
Okay.
And personally, I love this because like many other actors, I used to bartend.
Yeah.
And it is true that you develop this. I used to bartend in Brooklyn in these small bars. And in the small places like that, where all your coworkers and you even know the owners, and you have a personal relationship with them, you get very, very close, because you have to in like a bar setting, which can get very wild and very rough, and you're there till 6 a.m. So you need to know everyone has your back. So it was very easy to think about Patrick here in this hotel, bartending, becoming close with the owner, in a way he wasn't with at least his parents. And feeling that this other person had his back. And it's very understandable after a tragedy like that. Knowing, just feeling that there's this person who seems to have all the answers. Wherein for Patrick, it's like the world is completely answerless.
You're grasping for something anyway, and there's some sort of structure, some sort of person there who actually cares about what you're going through or pretends to care about what you're going through. And so it's easy as someone like that to just glom onto that person and believe everything they're telling you.
Exactly. And especially because Tully has this, metaphysical aspect to it. And this car crash, you know, in my mind, it was in a way meaningless. You know, it's so the fact that there's, you know, for Patrick, there's someone out there with an answer that goes beyond, yeah, this stuff just happens. Something, you know, someone who's attuned to the way the world works on a more mysterious level. Yeah. I can see would be absolutely enthralling.
Well, and two things. Now that you've got me thinking, number one, did the accident just happen? Because as we know, Tully likes to put dominoes in play on the table. And then when you said you were a bartender, I had never thought of this, but in a small hotel, who probably has the most interaction with the patrons? The bartender.
Yeah, definitely.
And then so Tully can come to you and ask innocuous questions about, where are these people from? What are they doing? Why are they here? Yeah. And then he can use that information to choose who's going to disappear.
Yeah.
That makes it even more creepy to me.
The fact that he's not getting the information himself.
You were kind of the reaper. You know, you were you were the info gatherer. Yeah.
As we've talked about before, Mike, they with Patrick, they got to him at the most opportune time. He needed answers, and they were more than willing to give the answers Patrick needed to hear.
Well, and you see that a lot in cult type situations, right? I mean, they pick people at their most vulnerable,
yes.
And then they separate them from their family, and then they start indoctrinating. You know, and so I'm assuming that that's what Patrick fell victim to. So your sister ends up being brought back. She's not quite right, but she ends up being brought back. So in your view as Patrick, when you saw your sister, do you see her as she was, or do you think you see her as she is?
As we see her on the film.
As we see her, she's a demon or she's a whatever, right? What do you think Patrick sees?
Well,
again, it's asking that you got this promise. You're going to get your sister back.
Yeah.
And is she your sister, or is it what we see on film?
Yeah.
I think it's both.
Okay.
I think, you know, I don't think I'm deluded. You know, I don't think Patrick is saying, oh, it looks, you know, she looks just like she looked.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, right. I mean, I brought her back.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
There she is. Yeah. Maybe she looks a little different, but she's back.
Sure.
And,
a little
it's like
different.
Pet Cemetery.
Just a little different.
Yeah.
Well, but Caitlin's right. It's like Pet Cemetery, that kind of thing, right? I mean, the devil's in the details, as Casey likes to say. You know, you got what you asked for, but you're going to get a lot more. You know.
Well, and it speaks to the character's pain.
Yeah.
To say, true. I don't. She's
whatever
back. Whatever she
whatever
is,
it
she's
takes.
back.
Yeah. At least she's back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
She's back, and in this weird way, I kept thinking, okay, now we understand each other on another level somehow. I don't even know how I can explain that, but it kept popping into my head while we were.
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
You're halfway through the process. I mean, Tully has given you something, and now she's saying, you know, at some point you're going to be here with me.
Yeah.
You know, if you were to have gotten to go through with the suicide and all of that, you know, it's not, we're here now. And this is a very, you know, loosely based version of what it can be once you get to where you're going with the cult.
So as far as the suicide goes, the mass suicide at the cult, do you think Patrick feels like he missed out on something with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's a little complicated.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Patrick definitely felt like he blew it, you know, by not being there.
Yeah.
But, you know, at that point, he's so involved in all of this.
Yeah.
And is such a strong believer that for him, it meant, okay, I missed this for a reason.
Yeah.
you know, I have something more I need to be doing.
Right.
Or at least I need to make up for missing it somehow.
Yeah. It very much feels like he's making up for it there at the end. You know, this is his duty. This is his penance that he has to pay, you know, because he did screw it up or he missed it or however you want to frame that. And that's, I'm assuming, why he puts on the suit and goes in the basement. You know, that's the rest of his duty so that he can get to where everybody else is. You know, it reminds me of like Heaven's Gate or any of those kind of cults, you know, where the majority of the people, you know, drank the Kool-Aid or whatever, but there's always those folks that didn't do it. And when they interview them, they're always like, yeah, I wasn't there because of this that day or something. And I see Patrick as that guy, but instead of thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I'm alive because I wasn't there, he's thinking, oh my gosh, I wish I had been part of that group because that's ultimately what I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
that's right.
Yeah.
When we see him come back and they, you know, after they, you know, his sister says, well, they all died and everything, that was really, you know, coming up those stairs, throwing away that arm sling.
Oh, that's a great scene. By the way.
That was the most, for lack of a better word, energetic, quote unquote, positive Patrick was. Yeah. He was like, he was very amped up, even though he missed it. So that, I mean, I don't know.
Well, it makes you think that Patrick thought, oh, here's my chance.
Yeah,
you know,
maybe.
Yeah.
I've got hope again that I'm going to get there just like them. Yeah.
Yeah. And at that point, I remember doing that scene and I remember feeling that the much more energetic.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, it's because it's all clear now. It's clear what I have to do. It's clear what what my future is like.
Got it.
It's time to get to work. It's great. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So here's the hard question.
Mm-hmm.
So Patrick puts on the suit, talks to the camera there at the end. We hear sort of a little bit of a scream, but not until he goes down, correct? Right?
Yeah. Okay. I know he's not going to be able to tell us.
Yeah. I got you. So the biggest question here is like, you put on the suit, you turn to the camera. We obviously have seen that look, that scene before. And then you go into the glowing basement or wherever you're going. We're assuming you're back at Abaddon, going down into the basement. Do you think Patrick was in that suit the whole time? I mean, are we seeing a rewind back to Hell House 1 where Patrick is just laying in wait for this thing to all start unfolding?
I think there's no definite answer.
Okay, I got you. Sure.
I would say there's an answer that's a little bit you could take any way, which is that Patrick anymore?
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, you know, it goes back to what I was saying about him in a psychological sense just desperately needing to be someone else. Once I put on that clown mask, I'm never taking it off again. That's it.
Yeah.
So who knows in a way. But I think the answer is and should always be completely mysterious.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, sure.
It's like, in a way, the answer is no. That's not Patrick anymore. That's the clown.
Well,
that's it.
I'll tell you this, Gideon. Reddit hates an open-ended answer like that. So they're gonna absolutely hate that because you didn't give them a solid. But
I mean, I would say there's nothing wrong with thinking it's still Patrick. That's still it. You know. And I don't see any way you could say that's not Patrick's body in that suit or whatever.
That's the way I like to think of it. I like to think that, oh my gosh, we've come almost full circle here. You know, that Patrick is just laying in wait and waiting for his chance. You know, now why Patrick has lost his ability to move around freely is beyond me. You know, he can just show up in places, but that's about it. You know, every once in a while he gets to charge towards somebody. But I like to think that it goes all the way around. Caitlin?
Oh,
Poor Caitlin.
I'm just
She's
listening.
just kind of hiding on the side.
Yeah.
By the way, let me tell you, Gideon, this new show will be kind of executive produced by Caitlin and Josh, who is not here. They have an existing podcast called Boobays. It's been going on for 150 episodes or something at this point. They review horror movies. So probably
maybe we can review your horror movie
That's
when it comes
exactly
out.
right. Yeah, we'd love to do that.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be wonderful.
Probably about 8 months ago, something like that, they reviewed the first Hell House, and so we re-released that today with a little bit of a cap at the beginning, saying, coming soon, Abaddon Eyes and things like that. So,
and then we'll be covering 2, 3, and 4 as well to kind of round it out and make the world complete.
So, okay. The question I think originally was, is it him the whole time? Is it just a vessel for various demons? Is it, what is the clown? But I think you're right in that it should be open-ended. It should be a little bit of a mystery because those folks are not there to tell us, to give us all the information. They don't want to show their hand. So, okay. So do you think there's a future for you as Patrick in it? Let's say 5 is green lighted. Is there a future for you in that? Or a future for Patrick, let's put it that way. Or do you think he's just fused to this suit at this point?
I'm not sure. Okay. I think there is. Okay. I think there's a possibility.
Okay. That's a sly little smile. I saw that. Yeah. Just a little bit. Yeah.
Well,
I think there's a possibility. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we talked to Stephen, and he said that if he gets to go back, one of the first things on his plate would be to explore from Kentucky, Western Kentucky,
something like
West Virginia to the Abaddon. So I could see where there would be a part where we would see some of Patrick in that.
Yeah, I would think,
Patrick working at the
Patrick
carnival.
Is almost required at this point. Yeah. To be in whatever that is. He did tell us he was a little cagey, which I get it, but he did tell us that he's written and has had written for a while a really good scene where Tully meets the two guys at the carnival, and so I can't imagine that Patrick wouldn't be included in that at some point, because if you're going to tell that whole backstory, you've got some missing time for Patrick that you got to fill in, just like you have for Tully, just like you have for these two new guys, and just like you have for the little girl who almost gets abducted.
Right.
So I mean, that's an entirely different world, story, whatever. I will tell you, I was very excited that and we talked about this on the last interview. I was very happy that it moved away from the Abaddon because now you're talking about a universe, and good, bad, or indifferent. I compared it to kind of the Star Wars thing, right? You're not going to be able to tell another story unless you go to another planet, right? And so that's what we're doing here. And now it feels like this story has kind of been unleashed, and it can be told from many different locations and many different viewpoints.
Yeah. No, that's right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I would be interested with your take on this. And when Mike brought up the young Margot picture, when that pans back at the end, that clown that Patrick is inhabiting was the one in the down the clown booth.
Yeah.
Right. Was that Patrick as we know it, or was that someone, another person? Because we've speculated that maybe, Tully had used that suit prior to Patrick getting it.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously something about that suit.
Yes.
That is like, for most people, absolutely terrifying, but then for certain people, very seductive.
Yeah.
So I think that's very possible.
Yeah.
There's a reason Patrick chooses that to become.
Sure.
Whatever it is. I mean, he's obviously drawn to it. in a way that most people are repelled by it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most people want to be out of the room it's in, and he wants to be in the same room.
That's right. He wants, not only does he want to be in the same room, he wants to be in the suit.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so having mentioned kind of tiptoeing around a lot of things that maybe we don't know yet, were there things that, and you don't have to tell us exactly what they are, but maybe give us an idea, were there some things that were shot or things in the script that maybe didn't make it for Patrick? Were there some things that maybe might make it into a future telling of Patrick's story?
Director's cut kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we finally got the director's cut for the original.
The first one, yeah.
It'd be cool to see it for this one.
You know, I don't know that there was a lot that was shot that that didn't make it in. Okay. But I would say the biggest part is, and we kind of just talked about this, the biggest part were my conversations with Stephen about Patrick's backstory, because there's a lot there, figuring out how it all ties together and all of that. It's not necessarily in the movie so much,
right,
or bits and pieces of it are in the movie. But so all of that, I could see there being it being used in another film.
Sure.
In terms of a director's cut of this one, I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, and that's the amazing thing when you're able to kind of self-produce we talked about the shooting schedule. You guys were there for like 14 days or whatever it was, right? I mean, that is a grueling time frame to try and shoot an entire movie, I would imagine. I don't know how long you took to shoot the tannery, but I'm assuming it might have been more than 14 days.
It was more than 14 days. It was pretty quick too. It was something like 20.
Wow.
22, 23, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was grueling. I was actually really impressed by how relaxed the whole Hell House team was. It was not. It wasn't like, okay, we got to get this, pedal to the metal, go. You know, it was very serious and very methodical and relaxed. It was actually a great experience on set.
So, how does it feel when somebody like Mike Flanagan says, "Hey, this is a pretty darn good movie. You should go watch that"?
Great. Yeah, it's great.
That's good. That's good.
It's excellent.
It's amazing to me that you guys released the fourth movie, which, you look back in time, and traditionally the fourth movie of any franchise is not the one that anybody picks out. But for him to come out and say, "Hey, you guys need to go watch this. It's a great movie," that says a lot to you, the cast, Stephen, being able to produce a fine piece of horror anthology. And that's got to be exciting. I know in the last interview she said that she started getting texts or whatever as soon as that came out, and it just changed everything for her. And so I think it's fascinating that somebody like him would even be watching, self-produced stuff, that Shudder exclusives and things like that. I think that shows you how much the world of film has changed, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, so much of what I've been seeing from independent film in the US is incredible. I think we're kind of going through a bit of a revolution with it, right? Because it's suddenly much cheaper than it was to make a film.
Yeah, it's
still crazily expensive, but it's not so prohibitive that you can't harness all the materials and do it. So I think, things like this are in a way what to be looking for, because there's a lot of freedom for the directors and for the actors and everyone, all of the creatives on set. And room to try new things.
I know that Caitlin and Josh have covered a lot of like Korean horror, especially in the found footage, genres. And what it feels like is that has had a huge influence on what's done over here. You see the breadth of these stories, that they tell in these Korean or other type found footage movies around the world. And I can't help but think that that's an influence on what's going on here. So the tannery, it's not a found footage, right? It's a regular.
It's not found footage.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask because I was curious with the 28. You said 28 days or so.
Yeah. Something like 23.
23 day schedule.
And what was the time period? It was
the
20s.
Yeah.
Actually, the year 1920.
Not a lot of found footage.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Found scratchings, found drawings.
A lot of still photography on plates.
There actually is a little bit of, within the film, there is a little bit of 16 millimeter found footage.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay.
But no, the film itself is not found footage.
Okay. So those types of movies and stuff that's being done around the globe in the horror genre, does that influence what you do at this point as far as a producer, director, writer, even actor?
I would say because there's so much creativity, within the genre. So yeah, it does. Seeing what other people are doing and how they're doing it with there's what gets me is there's so much room to come up with stories that are absolutely outlandish. But because it's horror, it's rooted in reality. I feel the same way with like magical realist writing by like Marquez. It's these insanely creative things about our world that it's just a different kind of storytelling.
Well, I think the other thing we've seen over the last few years is that everyday situations can be scary.
Sometimes those are the scariest
They can
situations.
be the scariest, especially like home invasion, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
One movie that I think back to, and Casey's going to groan when I talk about this movie, but Skinamarink. Have you seen Skinamarink?
I actually never saw it. No. Okay. People kept telling me to see it, and I didn't get around.
So it's a love or hate movie, right? But for me, I don't think of it as found footage because it's really not. It's told through the eyes of a child for the most part.
Yeah.
No faces. Really, you just see things, different shots from around the house or wherever they are. But it affected me. I'm old enough to have seen Blair Witch in the theater, and that movie, as a grown man with a child at that point, still scared the living crap out of me. Right, to the point where you're like taking a shower the next day with your eyes open. That sort of thing. Right. And so Skinamarink stuck with me. The same way. I felt that same feeling because I didn't know what the hell just happened, but it was very everyday type thing. And so that bringing that back around to what we're talking about, I think that's what's so appealing for these found footage type movies. It's stuff that people found, people already did, people, went about their regular lives, but these horrific things happened at the same time.
Right.
Exactly. And so I don't know how that impacts. I think I just wanted to tell you that story, but either way. So I've got two more things, and thank you again for giving us your time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
So I love your sister Catherine and all, but I don't think the cross did much when she gave it to you.
The cross,
the little cross necklace. Yeah, not real sure that warded off any vampires or anything for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't really work.
Didn't really work. It was sweet of her and all, but yeah, it didn't really do a whole heck of a lot.
At least not in the way she might have intended.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
But if you look at each thing that pushes Patrick further and further emotionally over the edge, it's like, again, it's this question of, okay, well, you had this horrible tragedy. Why kill the rest of your family?
Yeah.
And in a way, there is no answer to that. There's no rational answer.
Right.
And when she gives me the necklace, it definitely does something to me.
Yeah.
But in a way, as I get emotionally closer to her or something, it becomes more and more perverse in the sense of
it kind of does the opposite. It kind of becomes the
Yeah.
opposite of what she intended. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll be real honest. I think the interview with you has totally changed my mind about Patrick, because I believe I told Mike when I came in, I said, I just can't get around his character. I can't get into it.
Yeah.
But what really, in talking to you today, really tipped off something that I saw last night. I was watching, Mike won't believe me when I say I was watching the movie again.
He just puts them on in the background and lets them play, which I think is the
It's
first.
like The Office.
Well, I think it's
like
I think it's the
most
first
people.
sign of a sociopath is what it is.
Well, in talking to you and understanding that this kind of speaks to Patrick's humanity in, again, a perverse way, is remember the scene in the hall when Catherine was filming and Margaret scares her. Okay. And they were talking about she is supposed to be cinema verite. It's supposed to be real life things happening. And then Margaret says, well, Patrick thought it would have been very funny if I had been in your closet and scared you.
Yeah.
Cut to the very last thing before Catherine dies is Margaret is hiding in her closet and scares her.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, then I thought about, well, was that Patrick's last little kind of, why don't you go in there and scare her one last time?
Yeah.
But it's just.
Well, it almost feels like his last piece of humanity. Right?
That's what I'm saying.
Before he
Yeah.
tips. Yeah.
Yeah. Go in there and scare her one more time. Just scare her.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like I said, this conversation really, really changed my view on that whole.
Okay, so I told you it was two more things, but I actually have two more things. So just real quick, did Patrick kill his dad?
I would say yes.
I think so.
Nice.
Yeah. I think that needs to be explained at some point, or maybe that's one of those things that's just kind of left to everybody's fancy. But I think that I think everybody will kind of agree that is definitely the last scream you hear, in the movie. Okay, and the last.
Oh,
thing,
you're talking about who's with me?
Yes.
At the very end.
Yes.
That I won't confirm or deny. Anyway.
Okay.
I love this Zoom. By the way, had we done this on the phone, I wouldn't have gotten that look from you. So that's fantastic. Yeah, that is. You did not give anything away, but at the same time, you gave something away. So
well, the next person he interviews with, he's going to wear the mask.
That's right. Just wear the mask.
You won't
the
see my
entire
expressions.
time. That's right.
Right.
Okay, and I'm going to give them an opportunity to say something else if they've got anything. Do you have anything, Casey?
I have one question that's kind of just an off the wall question. But
please go for it.
Okay, speaking of the mask, there's an Instagram account called the Hell House Clown. Are you in possession of the mask? Do you run that, or is there someone else who just like does that? Like, are you completely this clown now?
I am not in possession of that.
Okay.
Of that Instagram.
Yeah. You notice he said that Instagram.
Closest...
He didn't say that mask. So
I know, because I found your Instagram, and but the only like actual Hell House Instagram I can find is the Hell House Clown. I can't find like Hell House on Instagram like for the film, and so then I just got to wondering with you becoming like the clown and everything. I was like, I wonder if he is in charge of that, and if he's completely, this is taking over his life, and he's becoming this clown.
No, I am not in charge of that.
Okay.
That is an official Instagram for Hell House.
Okay.
That's not.
Oh, that's great. That's good to know.
Yeah,
that's good to know. Okay.
I don't know if it's the official, but
but it is an official, just like Net Sleuths, or something like that they started. Okay, here's my here's my last thing for you, Gideon, and again, I'm going to thank you for your time one more time.
Yeah, no problem.
What do you think the tie is to the Hell House movies, the Carmichael family? What is the tie to Faust? Because I have my belief on it, but I want to hear it from you, being part of the Carmichaels.
I mean, I think it's the questions within all these movies are the same questions as in that are posed in Faust.
Yeah.
How far would you go to have what you want? And not to mention the fact that both in Faust and in the Hell House movies, it involves communing with, evil in the form of hell or whatever. But how would you sell your soul in order to have what you want?
Yeah. That was kind of my take on it as well. It seems like a kind of a loose interpretation of Faust, and the fact that it comes up more than once, is pretty amazing, honestly, when you think about the underlying story behind this whole thing. Gideon, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We would we'd love to send you some links and stuff when this thing comes out.
Absolutely.
And if you have the time in the future, if we've got some more questions that maybe are posed by our audience or something, we would hope that we could give you a holler once more.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us. And do you want to give us a little thing about the tannery real quick? You want to tell us when and where?
There's no release date yet.
Okay.
It's still in post-production. It's still very much, we're still working on it.
Okay. I did see it on IMDb when I looked up your stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's still being made.
Okay.
But I'll reach out to you when I know.
That would be wonderful. We would love that. Yeah. I'd love to talk to you about that movie in particular.
It's very exciting. I'm very excited for.
That's good.
For this movie.
I think you're supposed to be when you make a movie. I think you're supposed to be excited.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I hope so.
That's the first thing any agent will tell you. Go ahead and be excited about your work. Yeah. Well, Gideon, thank you again. We really appreciate it. And we wish you nothing but luck. And we really enjoyed your performance in Hell House 4. And there's your creepy sister coming around the corner. But we really appreciate your time. And we hope to talk to you again in the future.
Great. Hope to talk to you too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right. Great to meet you.
Same here.
Right.
You can find Abaddon Eyes exploring the Hell House LLC universe anywhere you get your podcasts or at roguemedianetwork.com.
I found the gateway, and it's glorious. Play us a song. Diana?
This has been a Rogue Media Network production. In a world where dreams meet reality, there exists a place where your business can flourish. That place is Shopify. Imagine having the power to craft your online store with tools that make it as easy as a gentle breeze. Whether you're an artisan of handmade wonders, a creator of digital treasures, or a curator of the latest trends, Shopify stands by your side. With its customizable templates, seamless integrations, and support that's always there, your dream store is just a heartbeat away. Join millions of visionaries around the globe and let Shopify guide you on your journey. Visit roguemedianetwork.com/Shopify. That's roguemedianetwork.com/SHOPIFY. And embark on your free trial. Shopify, where your commerce dreams come to life.